Onward coptis novus soda seclarum. What does that even mean? No matter. Good evening. Tonight, we're going to be diving into Dr. Righteous's dark vision of the future. A future without rock and roll music. That vile plague that Elvis Presley brought down upon our nation. And we're going to be doing it while drinking an AMSTEL Light, which is technically a lager, not an ale. But why quibble? Let's drink some ale and listen to some records. All right, so as I said, this evening we're drinking AMSTEL Light. Now, I realize, as I said before, AMSTEL Light is a lager. It's not an ale, lest anyone think I'm confused. But I thought it was a good one to highlight tonight. Well, first of all, if you're drinking AMSTEL in the United States, chances are you're drinking AMSTEL Light. There's very few places that actually have regular AMSTEL, not the light version. This is different from anywhere else you go in the world that has a population that's a large consumer of beer. The UK, anywhere in continental Europe, in Africa, AMSTEL is a pretty regular feature everywhere, but for some reason here we can only get the light version. I've heard it's because of something with Heineken. I don't know. I don't know the reason. But what I do know is having enjoyed both AMSTEL and AMSTEL Light, I can tell you they're both pretty similar. The thing about AMSTEL is that when you drink it, it stands apart from other beers in its class. So versus, say, drinking a regular domestic American light beer, drinking a Canadian beer, drinking a Heineken, or drinking a Carlsberg or something like that. Because there's something about it that's really unique. And because you don't see it a lot anymore, though it is still pretty well available, it kind of seems like an 80s beer. Which is a shame, because it's bright, it's flavorful, something about it just kind of pops out at you. For a light beer, it has an awful lot of flavor. And to me, when you're drinking AMSTEL Light, it sets you apart as an individual, maybe, kind of in a sea of sameness. AMSTEL Light feels like you are evoking kind of your inner I am. You are maybe going against the system a bit, and really recapturing your identity in kind of a world that wants to take that away. And it is, again, readily available, but not usually everyone's go-to beer, which is a shame, because as I said, it's really good. The flavors of it also kind of make me think of nighttime, neon lights. Certainly doesn't take me back to like the feeling of being in ancient times or anything like that. I find it's actually a perfect beer to go with this album here. The sometimes much maligned STYX KILROY was here. This is actually my favorite STYX album, and I'll tell you why. You see, KILROY Was Here is actually a pretty ingenious album. It is the album, they say, really kind of tore the band apart. I think it was probably happening before that. And it doesn't sound like The Grand Illusion or Pieces of Eight. That doesn't mean that it's not as good. It's a concept album, typical silly 80s concept. You know, there's the world's been taken over by a group called the Morality, the Majority for Musical Morality, led by this kind of televangelist type, Dr. Righteous. He bans rock and roll. And he frames the main rock star of the time, who is Kilroy, played by Dennis DeYoung in the movie. He gets thrown in jail. The jail's guarded by robots. There's an up-and-coming rock star named Jonathan Chance, played by Tommy Shaw, who breaks him out of jail. Literally the entire plot of the thing. So that's not the important part. To me, what the beauty of this album is the sound of it. It sounds like a dystopian future, but it sounds like fun rock and pop music in a dystopian future, so it's pleasurable dystopian future. I think all three of the main members of the band are actually firing on all cylinders on this album, which is a shame that two of those three don't like it anymore. At least I don't know if they ever did. But particularly JY's contributions on this album are some of the best things he ever did. And I'll get to that in a second. And Tommy Shaw's stuff, Tommy Shaw breaks out of his normal comfort zone with this album, and does some really incredible stuff. And of course, the concept is Dennis DeYoung's, and the story, again, kind of silly, but the deeper concept of it is really kind of ingenious. So let's go ahead and play this, and let's start as we talk. And we'll start with, obviously, the first big hit single, which is Mr. Robboto. Mr. Robboto gets a lot of undeserved flack. This was a monster hit when it came out, by the way, and a fan favorite. And it's now kind of lumped in with the Safety Dance, or Come On Eileen, as it's an 80s song. It's more than that. It's better than just an 80s song. The sound is incredible. And the lyrics are actually really, really interesting. So on the surface, you think it's a song about the concept, about robots, breaking this guy out of jail. That is not what Mr. Robboto is about. In fact, Mr. Robboto is not a song about robots. Mr. Robboto, like the entire concept of the album, is about a man struggling to hold on to his identity in a world that is increasingly the same, increasingly stagnant, all because of technology. And so what that forces the individual to do is hide their identity, hide it from everyone else, keep it all inside, under your skin. That's where you hide your secrets, as he sings now. But in the end, the true act of rebellion is to stand up, drink your AMSTEL Light as everyone's drinking their Coronas, and declare your identity. Say who you are. Be yourself in a world dominated by technology that is there to kind of dehumanize you, take away your identity, make everyone the same. And so, yeah, you can see it as kind of a silly thing about these robots. But if you think about how incredibly prescient that is, written in 1983, before social media, before cell phones, before AI, before YouTube, it's pretty incredible, because it's it really is kind of the struggle that everyone in this modern world, this modern Western world at least, has, is the lack of humanity, the lack of identity, and the lack of really being in touch with the real world, where everything is going through this kind of dehumanizing technology. So if you think about it that way, Mr. Robboto is an incredible song, and one of the more important songs of the rock era. I'm sure someone's gonna blast me in the credits for saying that, but it is. Okay, after Mr. Robboto on this album, we go into a Tommy Shaw song, Cold War. This is actually my least favorite song on the album, and I feel like Tommy could have probably done better on this song. It's like retreading Too Much Time in My Hands, but without as catchy of a hook. The concept of it is kind of all over the place. I guess he was suffering from writer's block. It really only comes out in this song, because his other two songs on this album are pretty amazing. This is followed by Don't Let It End, which is, the ballad of the album. It's not actually really that much of a ballad. It's more of kind of a soft rocker. I mean, it has a guitar solo. It has a fast part, an upbeat part. It's good. It was a monster hit. Has not stood the test of time. You never hear Don't Let It End anymore, but I think it hit like number 3. Don't Let It In is followed by the conclusion of side 1, which is one of my favorites on the album, which is High Time. High Time is an incredible song. Does it sound anything like STYX? No, it does not. It sounds more like Gary Newman than it sounds like STYX, but that's okay, because it's a brilliant song. It's from the arrangements, the vocal arrangements, to the sound, to, again, the lyrics of really that what is the act of rebellion? It's asserting your own identity in this dehumanizing world. So it's a pretty cool song. All right, side 2. Side 2 is really where the album just kind of takes off as far as a production standpoint. I feel like Dennis DeYoung, when he produces things, always wants side 2 to kind of be like the production side, which is, he probably gets, I know he's a big fan of Abbey Road, the album, and then the second side of Abbey Road is obviously, the big side. Starts with Heavy Metal Poisoning. JY is playing Dr. Righteous, the one who leads the moral majority, and it's silly, it's campy, it's a whole lot of fun, and it rocks, and it's a great JY moment. Followed by an amazing Tommy Shaw moment called Just Get Through This Night. An incredible production. They would never be able to do this song live because of the production. Lyrically, it's really cool. The production's really cool, and it's a real pleasure to listen to. This is followed by what I believe is the greatest of all JY songs, which is Double Life. Lyrically, Double Life, with the exception of the fact that it has the stupidest lyric maybe of all time, which is I'm schizophrenic and so am I, which just proves that JY doesn't understand the definition of schizophrenia, but that's neither here nor there. Double Life is really cool, though, outside of that lyrically, because it really does paint this picture of when you're forced to hide your true identity, and you're leading a double life for the sake of society. What if that inner you is not a good person? And so it's a really cool take on that. Definitely the darkest part of the album. Followed by what is kind of the denouement of the album, which is Haven't We Been Here Before, which is kind of a duet between Tommy and Dennis. A song that STYX should be proud of. It's a shame that that this doesn't get played by current STYX or current Dennis DeYoung lineup. It's a great song. It's sad that it's forgotten. It's a great part of the album, and I recommend it. That then it's followed up by the conclusion, which is called "Don't Let It End" Reprise, which has nothing to do with the first "Don't Let It End," but it's more of like a callback to like rock music and things like that. In any case, if you only think of this album because of Mr. Robboto, and you don't really give it a chance because, oh, Mr. Robboto is like, you know, Melt With You and Safety Dance and all of that. It's not. Give Mr. Robboto another chance. And then really give the album another chance. And enjoy an AMSTEL Light with it. So yeah. In the comments below, let me know what you think of KILROY Was Here. Are you willing to give it another chance? Have you always liked it? Is it your favorite STYX album? Do you absolutely hate it? Let me know. And also, what do you think of AMSTEL Light? Are you ever lucky enough to get AMSTEL Not Light? Let me know about that. And in the meantime, cheers.